All right, let's get into conversation right now with Michael Kroger, legend of the Liberal Party in Victoria and a man who holds his own here on Sky News, but more importantly, is right by Pauline Hanson's side when it comes to all things One Nation in Queensland and around the country, the wonderful James Ashby. So, Michael, what did I get wrong about the new leader of the Liberal Party?
No, I think you got nearly all of that right, mate. I think that's all pretty true. I thought she had a very impressive start today. I mean, look, let's put everything aside. The next 3 years in this country will be about the state of the economy. And it certainly helps when your leader has a master's in tax and accounting.
Correct.
Tax is a very complicated subject. And she's got a master's degree. So you're talking with someone pretty sophisticated. And she's also a very good communicator. So I think she understands it. She's pretty tough. And, mate, as you said, her background is just fantastic in the modern era. I mean, no offence to Albo and other professional politicians who've climbed up that ladder all the way, which is great. This woman, I mean, to be a shearer's cook of all things, and the other things she's done, is just what an extraordinary life's experience. Born in Nigeria, what an extraordinary life's experience. To get to the top of the Liberal Party's no mean feat. She's beaten a very outstanding candidate in Angus Taylor. So, mate, I think you got that pretty right. I think she's made a very good start.
Now, James, has your inbox been filled with people that are sending me messages saying, that's it, I'm done, changing party? And again, look, I get why people have this sort of reaction, right? I've yelled at the telly when the Tigers are getting flogged, 60-0 or whatever it was, on the weekend. I've screamed and bellowed when something goes wrong in a pit stop in a Formula. I get it, right? I get it. It's your team. You want nothing but the best. So I'm never going to tap down somebody's passions or believe any of that stuff, right? And don't believe any of the dog whistle garbage about somebody or anyone who's going to try to pretend that that's what I've done tonight, all right? It's not true, right? We're all part of the one big fire up here. But what do you think about Sussan Ley as the leader, as the leader? What does it mean? And is it also a difficult question to answer before we know who's even in her shadow cabinet and how she's going to run the show?
Well, I do want to wish her all the best. The whole country is reliant on the Liberal Party selecting somebody who's going to do very well. We need that. One Nation are not going to be government anytime soon. So I do want to see Sussan Ley do well. But the reason why she had to explain her history is because nobody really knows much about her. She has been on the front bench for quite some time. I would almost describe Sussan Ley as somewhat of a chameleon because she blends. No one knows anything about her. And when she has sort of come out of the shadows, it has been for things where she's made mistakes. She was the first Liberal person to back the banning of sheep exports. She was forced to explain herself today there. She was again forced to explain herself over the Palestinian issue where she backed Palestine at that time. And again, she's had to explain herself. We've had to deal with her as Environment Minister when she was in Cabinet under the Morrison government over environmental issues, trying to get mines up and approved here in Queensland. She didn't have the courage that a leader requires to sign something off and then explain herself. Debate those people who want to say you shouldn't have done that. So I haven't seen any courage out of this new leader. I like Sussan. She's intelligent. There's no doubt about that. When we have conversations, because we're both pilots, it generally goes to aviation. But as a leader, you cannot be a windsock on an airfield. You cannot swing in the breeze. You've got to stand for something. And as Ted O'Brien said today, Ted was very clear on the vision he's got for the Liberal Party. I hope that his deputy position to her strengthens her armour, and she does very well. The country is relying on Sussan Ley, and I wish her all the best. But we will, as One Nation, also call her to account when she gets things wrong.
Michael, can I ask a question which may take the rest of the show to answer, but do your best not to? We've got Nigel, we've got a few more other topics here.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are square pegs and round holes. Right?
Nigel hasn't been in the news. So
it's all right. The satellite time comes out of my pocket. Comes out of my pocket.
Dish him to the late debate, mate.
Yeah, all right. No, there are square pegs and round holes, right? So sometimes there might be something that you think is absolutely the right answer, the right policy prescription, but it doesn't fit into the square peg or the round hole of what the election is telling you, what the polls are telling you. And I'm not going to pick a specific policy, but how do you know the difference between something that you're willing to lose multiple times over, but it is a fundamental thing that you believe is better than everything else out there, and those moments where you have to move on? Now, I don't know whether you move on from things just because they failed once, or whether the square peg becomes a round hole because people all get rounder the older they get.
Yeah. Mate, it's actually a great question, and the answer is vague, but essentially it's this. What does your party stand for? Why was it founded? What does it believe? What's the core? What's the spine of the Liberal Party? What has it been for 80 years? Why do people vote for the Liberal Party? Why do they vote for the Labor Party? Why do they vote for One Nation? What is the compelling argument that through your history has led people to support you? And those principles and values of the Liberal Party are well established. We get into trouble when our core values are not the major part of the political debate. So if you give away, the economic debate as the primary debate in this country and allow it to be about healthcare or the cost of nuclear, then you're going to tend to do badly. And let's be frank, mate, everything in this country, as it does in every country, depends on how well the economy's going. Every social service, every defence, every assistance to the poor and the underprivileged and the needy depends on how well the economy goes. And that's why it should always be the primary debate. But the Liberal Party will never win a spendathon because government funds are not unlimited. And this la-la land of economics that the Western nations of the world are in at the minute, where you just keep printing money and keep running up debt. There's a day of reckoning coming. Yep. It's coming in Victoria because we've got a budget here on the 20th of May where they'll be slashing and burning by the Allen government, who have basically bankrupted Victoria. So the answer to your question is, what are our core beliefs? Now, you see, I think nuclear is a good policy, important policy, should be in private sector hands with limited assistance, etc. But it's never been core to the Liberal Party's brand offering. Menzies spoke about it, others have spoken about it, but we never did anything about nuclear between 13 and 22 when we were in government. So is it a core value of the Liberal Party? Has it been the reason I joined the Liberal Party or anyone joined the Liberal Party? No. But free enterprise, free markets, freedom of speech, individual responsibility, security, national defence, well-managed budget and economy, they've been the core principles of the Liberal Party ever since Menzies founded us in 1944.